In a place where protocol is king and every step is measured, one man made an unscripted decision. The motorcade had rolled through the gates of the immigration facility just after noon. Flashes went off, reporters lined up, and the air thickened with the weight of diplomacy. Behind the glass smiles and handshake-ready hands, there stood rows of men in suits and sunglasses, each one rehearsed, each one aware of the performance they were about to deliver to the world. But he wasn't interested in performance. Barack Obama had walked through this center before. He knew the statistics. He had heard the arguments. But as he moved through the corridors lined with chain-link partitions and numbered cots, something was different this time. He stopped, not because of what he saw, but because of what he heard. A soft, almost invisible sound. Not loud enough to cause alarm. But sharp enough to cut through ceremony. A child crying. It came from behind a makeshift curtain that had been fastened to provide privacy. Behind it, no cameras. No media. No politics. Just a child, no more than 5, curled on a thin mattress. No one knew her name. She hadn't spoken since arriving. Most would have passed by. Instead, he stepped off the marked path. His security detail hesitated. The press kept moving. A few advisors looked confused. But he didn't stop. He pulled the curtain aside and knelt. No entourage. No flash. Just a father's instinct, and a leader's heart. He sat there, listening not to policy briefs or political chatter, but to breathing. To fear. To the silence only a child can hold when they've lost everything familiar. He didn't speak Spanish fluently. She didn't speak English at all. But that moment needed no translation. He offered no promises. No speeches. Just presence. Just stillness. No one from the White House reported it. The press didn't know. It wasn't a moment crafted for optics. It wasn't meant to be seen. But it was seen. One grainy photo from a staff member leaked weeks later. It wasn't clear. His back was turned. The child's face was, "You weren't supposed to go there, Mr. President." The words echoed down the sterile corridor like a misplaced footstep on marble. A young staffer, not much older than 25, shuffled awkwardly behind him, clipboard in hand, eyes wide. But Obama didn't turn around. He already knew. He wasn't supposed to be there. Not really. The itinerary had been crafted weeks in advance, down to the minute. Arrive. Shake hands. Tour. Deliver remarks. Depart. The facility had been scrubbed, staged, and segmented for a presidential visit. But it had one thing that hadn't made it into the memos. A curtain. It wasn't marked on any of the prepared maps. It wasn't mentioned in the briefing folder, the talking points, or the tour outline. It stood quietly in the far corner of the holding unit, a cheap piece of beige cloth hung on a steel rod, barely reaching the floor. Meant to hide something, or maybe just pretend it didn't exist. And that's why he went there. Moments earlier, he'd paused during the walkthrough. Secret Service had cleared the area. Cameras were being positioned for the photo op. A regional director was mid-sentence, explaining facility improvements, when Obama's head tilted. He'd heard it again. A sound that no one else seemed to register. Not loud. Not screaming. Just, persistent. A soft, muffled sobbing. Like someone was trying not to cry, failing anyway. It came from the curtain. And it pulled him. "Sir, we should," the director began, but Obama had already stepped away. The agents adjusted, flanking him silently. The rest of the entourage stood frozen. The child's whimper had pierced through the theater of it all. The curtain wasn't locked. Just gently swaying. Obama reached out, pulled it aside. What he saw wasn't dramatic. That's what made it worse. A child. Alone. Knees tucked to chest. Big brown eyes, swollen from salt and sleeplessness. Maybe 5, maybe 6. She wore a pink t-shirt too large for her, clinging like a faded memory from another place. No shoes. One arm wrapped in a gray fleece blanket. The other clutching a stuffed monkey, torn and threadbare. There were no screams. No shouts. She didn't flinch. She just looked up. Silently. As if waiting to be sent back into invisibility. Obama knelt. Slowly. The curtain swayed behind him, cutting him off from his own office, his staff, the cameras, the world. "Hola," he said gently, unsure if it would land. No answer. Just breath. Shallow, rhythmic. He glanced around. The floor was clean but cold. A folded paper sat near the bed. A drawing. Crayons. A sun. A stick figure. Another smaller one with a frown. He pointed. "Esta Iris too." The girl blinked. Her head nodded, barely. He didn't ask why she cried. It was never meant to be seen. The photograph existed, but barely. It hadn't been staged. No White House photographer had been called in. No flashes, no angles, no pre-briefed lighting. Just one shutter click, almost by accident. A junior communications aide, standing too close to the curtain, phone in hand. Reflex. Human curiosity. The lens caught the faintest outline of a president kneeling beside a child in a makeshift space not meant to be shown. And it stayed in the phone. Hidden. For days, it was passed around quietly. Staffers saw it, hushed. Some saved it. Some deleted it out of fear. No watermark, no filter, just a man, a little girl, and a silence so dense you could almost feel it through the screen. It reached the director of communications by Thursday. She stared at it for a full minute. Then another. Then she turned the phone face down and walked to the Oval Office. "Sir," she said. "There's something you should see." Obama looked up. He was in mid-review of an immigration speech draft. The words on the paper suddenly felt heavier. She placed the phone gently on the desk. He didn't touch it. He just looked. And the moment returned, like a flood. The cold floor. The soft crayon strokes. The curtain swaying. The child who never spoke, yet somehow said more than any political advisor ever could. "This, leaked?" he asked. "No," she replied. "But it might." He took a breath. Deep. Calculated. "How many people have it?" She hesitated. "Enough." A silence filled the room. Not fear. Not panic. Just understanding. The kind of pause that happens before something irreversible. Then came the question no press secretary expects from a president. What if we didn't stop it? She blinked. "Sir. What if they saw it? All of them?" He leaned back slightly. The chair creaked. His fingers steepled, thinking not as a politician, but as a man who had once told a country it was okay to hope. That moment wasn't policy. It wasn't optics. It wasn't politics. It was just, real. And maybe that's what they need to see. She hesitated. "The risk." He nodded. "I know. They'll say it's staged. They'll say it's soft. They'll say I'm using a child to cover a crisis." He looked at her. "But they're not wrong about the crisis. Just about who's responsible for it." The decision was made that night, but not formally. No email. No directive. Just a quiet agreement not to chase the leak when it happened. 3 days later, the image surfaced. Not through an official release, not on the White House website, but through a whistleblowing intern who sent it to a journalist she trusted. The photo landed like a seismic wave. Newsrooms scrambled. Cable panels lit up. Twitter. Sometimes, the most powerful acts are not those done in public, but those witnessed only by the conscience. The storm had passed, but the silence lingered. After that morning, after the curtain was pulled and the moment unfolded, Obama returned to Washington, carrying not just the echo of the child's cries, but the weight of a system he could no longer ignore. He'd gone in expecting a photo op. He'd walked out haunted by a whisper. In the days that followed, the room where the curtain had once hung became a symbol. But not to the public, because they never saw it. The curtain had not been drawn for them. It had been drawn for him. To protect him from something inconvenient. Raw. Human. But that's not what leaders are meant to be shielded from. Leaders must be pierced by the truth, not insulated from it. Back at the Oval Office, he requested the unedited footage from the visit. No narration. No press cut. Just the raw security tape. The staff hesitated. Mr. President. That footage wasn't cleared for release. I'm not asking to release it, Obama said calmly. I'm asking to watch it. So he did. Alone. No aides. No advisors. No lights. Just the glow of the monitor, and a man trying to understand why one child's tears had shattered him more than 10 policy memos combined. The video played. The curtain drawn. The child, tiny, brown-skinned, wrapped in a metallic thermal blanket, sobbing not for food or water, but for her mother. The mother had been deported 2 nights earlier. The girl didn't know. She thought she was still somewhere in the building. Her little hands kept reaching toward every adult in uniform, asking the same question in Spanish. ¿Dónde está mi mamá? Obama pressed pause. He stared at her face, frozen on the screen. The hands. The desperation. The betrayal. And then he wrote. Not a speech. Not a press statement. A letter. To her. In English, but written with enough simplicity that it might one day be translated for her. It was not official. It bore no seal. But it carried the full weight of the presidency. He promised her, quietly, honestly, that the country that had taken her mother would not take her soul. That this moment, this pain, would not be the end of her story. That someone in power had seen her. And wasn't turning away. Later that week, in a high-level policy meeting, Obama was briefed on the detention system. The numbers. The risks. The political implications. He listened. Then, instead of arguing statistics, he placed a printout of the paused video frame onto the table. This is the policy, he said. They were confused. Sir. This is the face of the policy. This is the headline. This is the ad campaign we're running, whether we admit it or not. There was silence in the room. The image didn't show violence. It didn't need to. The tragedy was quiet. And that made it louder. One aide asked gently, Mr. President, what do you want us to do? Start by removing the curtains, he said. Not just at the centers. But in our policies, in our reports, in our language. No more hiding behind legal jargon. If a child cries and we look away, then the law isn't just blind, it's deaf. The shift began slowly. Inspection protocols changed. Detention conditions were re-evaluated. The language used in briefings was humanized. Photos were no longer staged. Real oversight, with real consequences, was introduced. The image of that girl, though never released, circulated within the halls of the West Wing like a sacred reminder. Not all power is public. And not all moments require a microphone. Years later, long after his presidency, Obama visited a community center in Los Angeles. A woman approached him. Mid-20s. A shy smile. And in her arms, a little girl with wide, intelligent eyes. She held out a letter. It was the one he had written. Translated. Preserved. Treasured. You wrote this, the woman said, to me. When I was in that center. I don't know how. But someone got it to my aunt. She kept it until I could read it. Obama was speechless.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that move the world. Thanks for watching.